Democratic State Representative John Bryant of Dallas, thank you so much and welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
So, you're a member of the House Public Education Committee, and tomorrow, Tuesday, the House Public Education Committee is going to be hearing HB 3, which is the school choice bill, which would provide $1 billion to give education savings accounts funded by taxpayers to about 100,000 students. How concerned are you that this is going to pass in the House this year and will be signed into law?
I'm very concerned about it. Governor Abbott has made this a priority and he's putting pressure on members to vote for it. I'm mostly concerned about it because it will seriously undermine public education in Texas, which is we're already 44th in the nation in the state effort that we make to educate our children. This will make it even worse by spending $1 billion to encourage children to leave public schools and go to private schools, and it's also incentivizing people that might want to be paid $2,000 per child to take their child out of school and homeschool them.
And so let me ask you, because as far as the money that will go to private schools and this whole program, Republicans say this is not coming from the foundational public school program that funds public schools. Instead, it's going to be funded from the nearly $24 billion surplus. So, what do you say to that?
It's ridiculous because when we say, let's stop being 44th in the nation in the state contribution to public education, let's be 25th uh, and spend some of those billions on public education. They say, oh, we just can't afford to do it. Well, we certainly can afford to do it. We have plenty of money to do it. The problem is that the Republican push is toward privatizing public education by constantly increasing charter schools, now by providing vouchers to people who want to take their kids out of public schools and put them in private schools, and by paying families, many of whom are not equipped to do it, to take their kids out of school and try to teach them at home.
And the Republicans say that this is just, giving parents more options, more choices. What's wrong with that? And because you've said that you believe this is going to undermine public schools and it's going to damage public schools.
Yes.
So, what do you say to what Republicans say that parents should have more options?
Well, first and foremost, the first option ought to be that every child should be able to get a free, good public education. That's the obligation that we have under the state constitution. And the Republicans have prevented that by refusing to properly fund public education. As I said, we're 44th in the nation in the state's effort in the area of public education now. On top of that, to decide to give money away to people that want to put their kids in private schools or pay people to take their kids out of school and homeschool them just makes it even worse. So let's do the first option well before we start talking about other options. Second, it is not a school choice bill because private schools do not have to take every student. They take the students that they choose. So it's a school choice bill only to the extent that it is the choice of the school, not of the parent, as to whether or not the child is going to go there.
And this is coming as part of a larger funding fight, if you will. When I spoke with Speaker Dustin Burrows last week, he said that the House plan right now is to inject $8 to $9 billion in new money to the public schools. And so what is your thought on that?
Well, first of all, the basic allotment in the public education funding bill is the key thing to look at. It's currently $6,160 per student. Their proposal is to increase that by $220. It needs to be increased by 1,380 just to keep up with inflation since the last time it was increased. It's a completely negligent way to approach our responsibility to educate our children. I'd point out to you that we had expert testimony in front of the committee that if you take all that money that went to charters and everything else out of the school funding bills over the last 12 years, you'll find that our independent school districts have not received more money for 12 years. They've received the same amount of money for 12 years. And it's a studied effort to undermine public education. They want to privatize everything, and the billionaires are all lining up. They want to get in like hogs at the trough. They want to get their snout in there and get some of this money.
But I mean, there are 5.5 million students in the state of Texas. There
Yeah.
aren't enough charter schools and private schools to educate all these children. And Texas is a growing state, so there's always going to have to be public education.
Yes, and we're making that point that this idea that somehow by bolstering access to private schools, you're going to help educate any significant percentage of the students is unrealistic. We have 5.5 million kids. Private schools can never handle all of this. Charter schools can never handle all of this. Let's put our money where 5.5 million kids are, not where a handful of people who are privileged to send their kids to private school are going to be focused. Again, if you want to send your kids to private school, that's fine. Most people who are doing that don't expect the state to pay for it. It's just this Republican drive towards privatization of everything that we're faced with. Why did a billionaire in Pennsylvania give the governor $2 million? No, I'm sorry, $6 million for his campaign against those Republicans who didn't agree with him because he wants to make money out of this process. They want to be involved in collecting money for educating people in private schools.
And my last question to you is, the Republicans say in the Senate and the House, they really want to prioritize these education savings accounts for mainly low-income people, low-income families, and disabled students. What's your thought about that?
All you have to do is read the bill. A person who makes a family of four who makes $160,000 a year, a wife, a husband, and two children, will receive a $10,000 per student voucher to go to private schools. Those are not poor people. Those are folks that are doing quite well. And once you start receiving the vouchers, they never ask you again about qualifications. So if you make $1 million or $2 million, you're going to be able to get that voucher. Ironically, most people who have their children in private school are not asking for this. This is a right-wing scheme of Governor Abbott, and he's going to try to force it down the throats of the public. Before we ever reach even the national average with regard to the state effort in public education, we're 44th out of 50.
State Representative John Bryant of Dallas, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate it.
Thank you.